Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Monday, July 14th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful downtown Lowell, and bringing you the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. Oftentimes, those two things intertwine, and we get to talk about all of it. Today we're going to focus a little bit on Lowell, but also the country, if not the world around it. And I'm excited to be joined by my special guest host today, none other than former Lowell Elections Director Greg Pappas here in the WellPoint Studios. Yasu, Greg.
Yasu.
How are you, man?
Good. Interesting summer.
It sure has been so far.
It's crazy.
City of Lowell was buzzing last week with United Nations people coming in. And by the way, if you go to InsideLowell.com, we've got a recent story up there from this morning, kind of my take on some of the things that I got to witness and I had heard were happening during the week. So check it on out, InsideLowell.com. More about the front runner city. Also, some exciting stuff coming out about the little guys playing baseball here in the city of Lowell. Some big accomplishments by some little leaguers. So be on the lookout for that. It's all over our Facebook page already. Thank you to our Inside Lowell sports correspondent, Danielle McFadden. 3 years ago, didn't know the difference between a baseball and a basketball. Now she's writing sports columns.
Isn't that something?
And doing it well, yeah.
Good for her.
Motherhood will do that to you when your kids get into sports.
Yeah, well, see, that's the one that pays attention. So there you go.
You have to.
It's good for her.
Well, we got lots to talk about with Greg. Ghislaine Maxwell's death wish, our Jerome Powell's days numbered at the Fed, and a little segment I'm going to call What's Old is New Again, especially in regards to, quote unquote, clean energy. We're going to get to all of that with Greg in a quick moment. Let's just thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, there's only one person you need to get in touch with, and that is Ray Booten. You can find him easily enough online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, WellPoint. Thanks, Ray. We'll thank our other sponsors in a few minutes, but let's get right down to it. This is literally breaking, Greg, this morning as I was driving in from the bank and you were driving on in. The Daily Mail is reporting, and it's been confirmed, I guess, that Ghislaine Maxwell, the right-hand madam of Jeffrey Epstein, wants to talk.
Yes.
She's ready to talk. She's ready to name names. And contrary to what Donald Trump and his administration said last week, there is a client.
There is a client list.
Shocker, there's a client list.
But she made it clear, she did make it clear that he is not on it.
She did say
said it twice.
Donald Trump is not on the list, but other powerful world leaders and American politicians are. So before we get into this a little bit, can we just kind of, because you're a sensible guy, you know what's going on in the world around you. You don't just jump on things because it's the cool thing and because MSNBC or MSDNC or CNN told them. So there's still people out there that think Donald Trump's not releasing this Epstein list because he's on it. Again, if you are naive enough, or quite frankly, if you are stupid enough to think that a guy that they tried to put in jail 1,000,000 times over, a guy that they trumped up Russian collusion charges in the election against to try to stop him.
Which is another breaking story on that too.
And the guy
they found the emails.
And the guy that they tried to assassinate 1 year ago yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania. Do you really think if he was on the Epstein list, you would know it by now? At some point between the deep state and President Joe Biden, if Donald Trump was a client of Jeffrey Epstein, you would know about it. Don't be dumb. Don't be naive, and don't be dumb. Don't let these people drag you through the nose. That said, I think the president made a huge mistake last week. I think he unnecessarily alienated a lot of his base, a lot of his supporters. I think he eroded trust in him being transparent by saying there's no list, or I should say by having his attorney general say there's no list. Greg, we know there's a list. There has been testimony about a list. There have been congressional hearings about that list, and people specifically saying we're not releasing the list. If there's no list, why would you need to say we're not releasing the list? Why wouldn't you say there's no list? So obviously there's a list.
Well, yeah. And I think, I mean, the Attorney General said she didn't want innocent people being, you know, like they're saying, for instance, I met him before 2 years ago, Harvard University law professor.
Alan Dershowitz.
Alan Dershowitz, yeah. He's honest. He's been to the place, but he was his attorney years ago. But he, you know, he's on the supposed list. The list, in other words, that they have doesn't necessarily mean that they're clients. It's just a list of all people that he was associated with somehow.
So someone actually, somebody very wise, a very astute political observer this morning said to me, you have to be careful because there's a difference between a client list and a contact list.
And a contact list, right.
Clearly, the contact list is what it is, right?
Right.
But the client list is the people that specifically sought sexual services on Epstein Island, and often with underage
and I'm sure he kept notes on
girls or boys
and everything,
Right. Now, did they know? Did they specifically know, you know, that these people were underage? Were they told they were, or were they deceived? You know, that's a whole legal battle, one thing or another. But I still think for Donald Trump to say there is no list and to allow Sam that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not sure what his motive is on it, and
blackmail.
Of course, him not being on,
blackmail.
Well, he
controls that list, and he can blackmail the people on it, not the deep state, right?
From that point of view, it's possible. Yeah, I mean, very possible. But I mean, and he. A lot of people don't know this about him, but we have friends that are close to him. One's from Lowell, and he always said that Trump is, what do they call that? What people like Howard Hughes was at the end, a germaphobe. He's not, germaphobes aren't going to be really involved in stuff like that. That's why when they had that thing from Russia that they said that a prostitute, no way. The guy's not going there or anything like that. He doesn't shake hands. He very rarely shakes hands. And if you look at him, he'll shake a hand, but they say that he wipes, you know, he's just, he's got that thing. But she already said it because they would have used it to get him off because he was president when they were prosecuting. But yeah, so it'd be interesting. I hope she does testify. But like you said, I think for his purposes, he can call up and say, you know, you're going to vote this way because you're a bad guy. And I know this is bad to do this, but it's going to be for the better of the people. You're going to do something good for the public for a change. And this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, so Ghislaine Maxwell knows if there's a list.
Yep.
And she knows who was on the naughty list and who was on the, all right, well, we try to get campaign contributions from him, etc. How is she even still alive?
Well, like
Epstein, quote unquote, hung himself. And again, Trump's trying to convince everyone that he hung himself too. But I figured there's no way she would still be alive, and there's no way she'll be allowed to testify or grant an interview where she will name names. She will be killed.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Well, that's a fair assessment. I mean, definitely. But she comes from a much more powerful. Epstein had nobody. She comes from a very powerful family. Her father was, as we know, Mossad. He was working with the CIA. He had tons and multi-billionaire. Her sisters and brothers are still around. But she probably did what we were talking about. You had said it too. Probably recorded this stuff. Something happened, so go to this vault and see the whole thing. And this was so they're going to get it, you know, one way or the other. She covered it. But that's something she would do. She's smart enough to do that.
Correct.
He wasn't.
She's alive today.
Right.
My belief, again, no evidence of this, but I mean, logic tells you Epstein hung himself. She would have hung herself by now, especially now that for her to start mouthing off and say, I'm ready to give names.
Right.
Clearly, she's got some kind of quote-unquote insurance policy.
Well, she has to. Yeah.
And my belief is she has a tape somewhere and documentation that will be released only upon her tragic death or perhaps even if she was smart enough, she put suicide as a condition.
Yeah.
Where she,
or
if she dies of a turbo cancer or something.
And I'm sure her family...
Same thing that killed Jack
probably
Ruby.
left her with her brothers or her sisters.
Yeah.
You know, probably. They probably got it somewhere. Like I said, they're billionaires. You're not going to find that. It could be in a vault in Switzerland. Who knows?
So do you believe,
I agree
do you
with
believe that she will come public? Do you believe she will be given the opportunity to go public?
You know, if she keeps pressing that, her attorneys do, and they don't give her, it is going to look bad if they don't give her the opportunity. But I would like to see it myself personally. But I don't know. Because she'd have to have substantial evidence, not just her word. And if she has the substantial evidence, how are they going to turn that down? If it's just going to be her saying that name, no, then you don't know. That could be her lying, or same thing with him. But I think if she had it documented somewhere, and she has all this other information with it.
Well, we were told there were videotapes.
There were.
Those rooms were all being recorded.
They were said that, and there were boxes of this stuff, but we still don't know what was in those boxes. I mean, we don't know. I mean, were they? And don't forget, they were in Biden's group for like 4 years, in their control. Matter of fact, they found one box out in Chicago, in the FBI office in Chicago. What was it doing there? It was supposed to be in New York.
Who was from Chicago?
It was what?
Wasn't there a former president who was from Chicago?
No, there you go. That's a good point. Mondego said that they discovered a box this was like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and he said they found a box of tapes in the FBI office, the new guys in there and ladies in the Chicago office that were from the Epstein files. Interesting. Yeah.
It always is. And you always wonder, are you getting the real story? Will we ever get the real story? But I do want to also caution people that if and when names start being released and they're rumored and reported, much like the Trump thing that you fools still follow. I was watching it this morning on social media. You know who you are. But you brought up the Dershowitz thing. That was a perfect example. Yeah. So Dershowitz's name was leaked out there. Why? Because Dershowitz was very vocally defending Donald Trump during impeachment and some other things. Yeah. He was calling them setups and whatnot. So Dershowitz had to be destroyed. Right. His name was released as being on the list. And he said, I represented him in legal matters. He's got money, but I was never on that island and never engaging.
I think he was.
But never engaged in the stuff that was going on that island.
I mean, they had Stephen, the physicist on the island.
I mean, he was the guy in the...
He was crippled,
I'm drawing a blank right now.
I mean, obviously, he wasn't... Who the hell knows? I don't know. Maybe there was something weird. Who knows? But he was there were different times for different things, I'm sure. But Dershowitz, I met him years ago in the State House, a long time ago, when we were both younger. And Archibald Cox at the State House at a Christmas party down at the House Ways and Means Committee. They used to do the Chinese food Christmas party. The Transportation Committee did the Italian Christmas party. But anyways, it was back in the 70s. I met Alan Dershowitz and Archibald Cox. He had the bow tie and stuff, Nixon's lawyer. And the one thing I always remember about him was, I mean, and I still think today, I mean, he's liberal, but he's constitutional law first. He would have been a great Supreme Court justice.
Sure he would have.
He will go against his own beliefs if the law says you have to. And he's very adamant. But the thing I noticed, though, and even a couple of guys, you're younger in those days and things were a lot more commented on sexually and stuff than, some of the guys were saying. I think if he had a chance to make love to a woman or a constitutional law book, he'd do it with the constitutional law book first. He just didn't seem to be a guy that was interested in anything like that other than that. I mean, and even now, you know what I'm saying? He just was like, he knew.
I think you meant that as a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, he was neuter. I don't even know if the guy was married. I don't know, but he's just all into that. I can't even imagine him being interested in anything like that. But
by the way, the name. It's funny how the mind works. The name comes to you totally. Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawkins, the physicist. Yeah.
But it's amazing I love watching this play out. Part of me thinks this is a distraction from other things that are coming, and especially the folks who are, who didn't mind that the Epstein lists stayed hidden for 4 or 5 years. Suddenly they're all over this, and why isn't Donald Trump releasing it? I mean, I know they're doing it because they want to try to make Trump look bad, and I think it's succeeding, but
not enough.
They don't really want the names, because if they did, a lot of their rich and powerful friends in Hollywood, in media, and in politics,
United States Senate
are going to be caught up in this. And then if it's a case like Dershowitz, where their name's on the list, but now it's that old saying, like, once you light a fire, you can't always control the burn. So you have to be careful. These folks better be careful. But I almost think they're trying to distract from other stuff going on in the Department of Justice and other stuff that Pam Bondi is working on currently, and you touched on it. And YouTube censors, here's your cue to start paying attention and put a little warning label out there. But the investigations are ongoing as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
There have been grand jury affidavits that are starting to get released, I believe, on Twitter and other social media from April testimony and whatnot, talking about that 2020 election and what transpired with some of those ballots and mail-in ballots in particular. Could this whole Epstein thing be a distraction from that, from folks trying to sabotage Pam Bondi?
It could be. I mean, but, you know, if you look at, I mean, I thought it was interesting. Rasmussen did a poll on issues and immigration, economy. I mean, this thing was like number 4, number 5.
Epstein was.
It was down the list. The other thing I find interesting too is, like I was trying to explain to people, like, you know, saying, well, why aren't they got to do grand juries, and they were doing it right from the start. And then he called what's his name to Washington the other day to leave an event in Boston, in Florida. Who was the former congressman? Matt Gaetz. I'm convinced. I said that to a couple of friends of mine. I think he's going to be a special counsel. He's getting called. Trump called him over the weekend.
You think he's going to be a special prosecutor in all these cases?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why he got called. I think he left in a hurry. It's not to become attorney general. I think they got the indictments ready to go, and they actually said most of the stuff was pretty much figured out already. They pretty much gave a whole litany of how the Russian collusion things worked. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they didn't use the CIA. The CIA had a report saying, no, it had not. That's not real. But they used the Clinton campaign stuff, which is wrong.
And, you know, it's funny because everybody's dumping on the CIA and everybody's dumping on the FBI over some of the nonsense that was going on regarding that. But what it really was the political, the Brennans, the Clappers, the Comeys, and the Rays and whatnot. And the field agents were, because I remember talking to former field agents who still had connections in there, and they were telling, they were appalled by what was going on in that thing. But you know, they were hopeful that they'd get the truth in the Durham report, and they got a half truth. But now there are emails out there showing that Brennan Clapper and yes, Obama Biden knew 100%. There was no Russian collusion with Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, the only collusion was Hillary Clinton with the Russians
over the uranium.
Correct.
Uranium.
Ukraine always comes back to Ukraine.
Unbelievable.
Too. But they concocted this whole thing and allowed an investigation and wiretapping to go on,
which is illegal.
It was. So you remember what Watergate was, right? Watergate was a wiretapping operation in the middle of a presidential election. A couple of numbskulls broke into a hotel room. This is colluding with Russian, British, and other agents.
Australia, even Italy knew about it.
And they destroyed Mike Flynn. They destroyed our Greek buddy George Papadopoulos, who fought back and wrote a book against him. But some of these folks had their lives destroyed, threatened with jail time, convicted and whatnot, and they had to deal with all this stuff. And the CIA and FBI knew from day one. Barack Obama and Joe Biden knew from day one. This wasn't true.
No, not at all. They knew it. They knew it. And that's why you say you can't blame the field agent. And what's sad is, I mean, you do not want to get rid of the field agents in CIA. I mean, there's always a problem at the top, but the CIA does stuff that, and the FBI that they can't even talk about.
And we've established that you probably know.
Well, it's funny, and it's funny because my cousin's husband spent the weekend with us, and he did 35 years in the CIA. So we went into our own skiff and had some long conversations. So my wife was a little upset because we were down cellar and her and Dee were upstairs. But I
hope you had a couple of good cigars and an expensive whiskey.
Well, what was interesting, like Michael Knowles there. But what was interesting is, I mean, he can only talk about but still, what was interesting is that it did confirm a lot of like the UFO stuff I was talking about. He knew all about the aircraft carrier. He knew when I named the captain of the ship, who was also the head officer, the commanding wing commander of the. When I said his name, he goes, "Yep, he was an astronaut too." Yep. So it was fun. Yeah.
All right. You're tuned into the Daily Pulse on this Monday, July 14th edition of the Daily Pulse. Greg Pappas is our special guest host today. Always fun and always informative when Greg is with us. We'll continue our conversation and spin off into a couple of other topics here from Lowell and the world around it. First, let's thank all of our Daily Pulse sponsors, shall we? Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Find them online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you as well to WellPoint at WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. You'll notice from the signage, we're coming here from the Well Point Studios. Washington Savings Bank, free rewards checking. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's a century of service to our communities. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Prevent Your Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on to protect its most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. Heartbreaking overtime loss for the Pirates last Saturday night in Tulsa. Still got a shot to make the playoffs. 2 tough games coming out, one on the road this week in Green Bay against the Blizzard. Their final home game of the 2025 regular season, Friday, July 25th at the Tsongas Center against the Bay Area Panthers, the top team in the Western Conference. Get your tickets now. Some tremendous family 4-pack ticket offers, Christmas in July ticket offers, affordable family fun. Friday, July 25th, Massachusetts Pirates, final regular season home game. Back with Greg Pappas. Donald Trump yesterday got back from he was at like a soccer match or something, because I saw him on the field Chelsea. Celebrating with Chelsea United or whatever the
Chelsea
team is.
United, yeah.
But he flew back, gets off the helicopter, and does the press discussion, as he always does. He's accessible and whatnot. May drive you nuts with what he says, but he's always accessible. And he immediately turned his ire to Jerome Powell.
Yes.
The secretary of the Fed, basically saying, listen, we've got higher interest rates than most of the civilized world. There's the inflation is not at a level. It's been tamed, and it's not at a level where you should have these kind of interest rates. It's kind of putting the brakes, holding the reins on the economy, on investment, and all sorts of stuff. And he's saying, he basically said, if he quits, I wouldn't be upset. He's trying to get rid of this guy because he thinks he is intentionally sabotaging the economy.
I mean, they do it based on jobs. I mean, what was it, last month? They came up with 140,000 more jobs than they thought they were going to create. It was like 2-something, and then another 140 on top. And then you had, what was the other issue with the Fed was, not the Fed, the economy. I mean, you broke $100 billion in the tariffs. $100 billion came into the U.S. Now you got a $37 billion June
2025 had a budget surplus. Can you let that sink in for a minute, folks? Remember the panic in April over the tariffs destroying not just the stock market, but the economy and everything else? They did none of the above.
And
the stock market recovered very quickly once the panic stopped.
6 records, 5 records.
The interest, I mean, inflation continued to go down. Jobs continue to get created. And suddenly, you have a 1 month at least budget surplus. Now, I'd like to see July, and I'd like to see going forward, but remember all the fear-mongering over the big, beautiful bill and how that was going to explode the budget. And there was someone who said, no, that's actually going to cut the deficit. So who are you going to believe? What, reality or the political pundits on MSDNC?
You got to deal with the truth. If you don't want to deal with the truth, you're only going to hurt yourself. And, you know, it's just crazy. I mean...
So why hasn't Jerome Powell been removed? Why does Donald Trump keep basically firing shots at him? Does he have the power? Does the president of the United States have the power to remove the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board?
I think it's not. I think you have to have a certain reason for doing it, but you can. From what I remember constitutionally, I think so. But you have to have a reason for it. And I mean, they're powerful people, and they just don't want to leave like you said, building a castle there. You know, with money that he's not even supposed to be doing, you know?
So you remember, if folks are our age growing up, we remember Alan Greenspan. Who was the Fed chair through numerous administrations. And it got to the point where you'd have, Reagan and Bush Sr. and Clinton and all these presidents coming and going. And everyone said, the most powerful man in terms of the American economy is Alan Greenspan, the Fed chairman. He controlled through manipulation of interest rates, would try to get inflation under check, try to boost jobs creation, et cetera. But maybe my memory, maybe I'm just remembering things more fondly than I do now. But Greenspan seemed to kind of play it above board. He wasn't.
Well, he's a different kind of guy.
I don't think he was clearly politicking as. I think Jerome Powell is clearly politicking. There is no reason to not lower interest. Everybody and their mother, every economist and whatnot, thinks those rates should have come down significantly by now, and they haven't.
Well, Greenspan was more "quote unquote" transparent. I mean, you knew him as much as you knew who the president was all those years. He was on TV shows. He was on, before Congress. He was always doing stuff. This guy here, you've only seen him like 3 times. You say his name to most people, they don't know who he is. Greenspan was everywhere. He was even on, talk shows.
Sure, Sunday morning show.
Yeah.
Tim Russell, Meet the Press. Cokie Roberts and Sam Donaldson.
Right, that's how he met his wife.
Yeah.
What's her name? Trying to remember his wife's name. The Greek lady there.
Yes.
But that's how, because he was very much
Huffington, or who am I thinking of? No, not Ariana.
No, but he was out in the open a lot more. He also knew that, probably thought there was a lifespan to the Federal Reserve because it's been under attack for many years. Like, what is this thing? It started with Andrew Jackson, President Kennedy tried to take it out by going to the silver certificate. And,
did he really?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the reason. Yeah, that's why we went to the silver certificate.
Oh, no kidding.
The gold-backed standard. He took the, he ended up trying to...
So I was always a Kennedy fan. I grew up if you grew up in a Greek household, a Greek immigrant household, especially in the 60s and 70s, there was a love of JFK.
Oh, yeah.
So I grew up a big fan of Kennedy, and stuff I learned about him. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you all this stuff that he's tried to stop. The Cold War, that he tried to stop the Vietnam War, probably got killed because of it and whatnot. I like him even more now because now I'm seeing he was kind of ahead of his time in a lot of these.
Oh,
things.
yeah,
and maybe even with the Fed, I'd have to start now.
Yeah, no, if you look into that, that's why I still got some of the dollar bills because I was alive when he was president. I was just a little kid, but I remember I still get the dollar bills with the red line in them. You never seen those? The silver certificates, President Kennedy.
That's what they're called?
Yeah, silver certificates. They're backed by silver, not gold. He wanted to get rid of the Fed eventually.
Next time you're downtown, you got to drop one off.
Yeah. They're collectibles.
I bet they are.
I'll send you a couple pictures of them.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but people have them.
I've never seen them.
There's a red line through the. That's how you notice them. That's what you do if you were going grocery shopping with your mother or something like that. Your dad, in those days, people, you'd be counting out the dollar. You see a red line. People go, oh, wait a minute, and they put it in their pocket to keep it because they realize, they were in circulation for quite a while, but by the 70s they started disappearing.
Is that when like the silver dollars started too? The circle one, the coin.
No, that really had nothing to do. This was a completely different type of issue of a dollar bill, an American money. It was a completely new issue. It wasn't issued. I forget how the terminology was, but it was a silver certificate, not a gold standard by the Federal Reserve. It was still printed by the Treasury directly. But he was, and even his assassination. All that's 80,000 pages. They say nothing came out of it. Something did come out of it. George Giannides, who was a Greek guy, was born in Greece.
Always a Greek in the middle
somewhere.
Of these things, right?
He was 6 months old when he moved to New York with his father, so he's really American. But George Giannides was what CIA, when they have, they're not agents, but they're, what do they call them?
Assets.
They have a handler. Giannides was Oswald's handler.
That's right.
But the thing with Giannides, he had a different name. He used a different name. So when they finally figured out Alan Jones was George Giannides, then they realized the CIA was directly involved. And I'm not talking about the people on the street, the higher-ups. They were all involved with that.
Of course they were.
If you think about that day in Dallas, President Kennedy's in Dallas, but so wasn't President Nixon. Well, Nixon was there. George Bush Sr. was there. Jerry Ford was in Dallas. There's all these names. It's bizarre. We're in Dallas, right down the street.
It must have been a big cowboy.
I don't know.
Weekend, right?
But the silver certificate thing plays right into this whole thing. That was part of the other reason too. The banking industry. They were.
Yeah. Now you gave me more research material.
Yeah.
Before we put Powell aside, you touched on this, and you're starting to see the Trump folks exert the pressure on Powell to resign,
right. And I think
to start lowering interest rates because they revealed that the Fed, the building that the Fed operates under, recently underwent a $2.5 billion renovation, a Taj Mahal.
Right, $1 billion, not $1 million, $1 billion.
$2.5 billion, with 700 million in cost overruns. I mean, that's like Lowell High School on steroids.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But you can see the pressure on Powell.
Oh yeah.
I think my take is within the next month or two he finds a way to retire, because it's just he's done his service, and we'll get a few people to say kind words about him. Maybe even Donald can tap him on the back. I
think Trump learned his lesson from the first time around, was that, you know, you have to kill your enemies, basically. I hate to say it. Politically kill them. Get them out of the way. That's why he's going for Brennan and Clapper and all these guys now. He should have, you know, you can't, in that level, on that higher level, it's for real, you know. I mean, look at, they said there was 2 assassination attempts on the president. Remember, it was an FBI agent, I forget who it was, who said, well, there were 5 assassination attempts. There were 5? There were 3 others that we didn't know about. They know stuff, you know.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so there you go. So the war is on. They're not. These people's lives were all destroyed from not just the general there, but Tulsi Gabbard, and I mean they were, you know, Bongino, and I mean they went after all these people for the throat.
Tulsi Gabbard ended up on a do not fly list.
Yeah, right. Torturing. I mean, there's no more playing around. So I think, if the evidence is in, there's indictments coming out, they're going to stick. They're not going to be indictments that, you know, this person's going to get off, like it's going to be like the P. Diddy case. No, it's not even going to be closed. It's going to be a closed and shut case, I think.
So we mentioned today is July 14th, July 13th. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Butler, Pennsylvania. Kind of hit me last night. I was going to bed. I was writing my final article, and I had the TV on in the background, and they were replaying some of that stuff in Butler. And I'm like, doesn't that seem like a lot more than a year ago? Think of everything that's transpired since that day. You know, shortly thereafter, the Biden was finally kicked off the ticket. The election happened, and everything else. It's only been, Trump's only been in office for 6.5 months, right?
Yeah, it's just compacted.
But it all seems like Butler seems like a lifetime ago now. I seriously, I'm like, it's only been a year.
Because we're being compacted. So much stuff is being compacted with the internet now, which is great. This is where the public's learning what's really going on. They don't have to watch they don't watch the news anymore. So, and Butler, what still throws me off the most is I can't believe the guy got 8 shots off. 8 shots? Not 1 or 2, 8 of them. Are you kidding me? With all those guys around there with rifles and everything. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable because we know what it was, but it's just crazy. But it's been done before. They did it to Lincoln. They did it to McKinley. They did it to, you know.
Kennedy. Kennedy?
Yeah, President Kennedy. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, but it does. You know, people, it's power, and it's the ones at the top, not the ones within the, you know. It's crazy. But that's 8 shots.
I didn't realize it was that many.
It was 8.
Wow.
Yeah, they reviewed it again last night.
How'd that kid get... Where did he get trained to shoot? Why don't we know anything about him? Right? Well, we knew a lot about Oswald. We didn't know all of it about Oswald. We knew the stuff they wanted us to know, right? We knew about John Hinckley when he attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan. We found out everything about him, his obsession with Jodie Foster. All that. You know, even with Booth back in the days, you learned everything about Booth. I'm pretty sure it eventually got out. Why do we know nothing about this 21-year-old kid 1 year later, and we know absolutely nothing?
Nothing.
Isn't that strange?
Well, yeah, they're taking advantage of people, you know, what's hot today is not hot tomorrow type of thing. But when you think about it, he was in the school he was in, and some of the classes, Pennsylvania, Ohio place, kids actually have shooting classes where they learn how to use a gun. In college, in high school rather, not college, in high school.
So why don't we know that? Why don't we know what kind of a shot he was?
Well, he was. We did know that. Yeah, I checked in. He was. He was terrible.
He was a terrible marksman.
He was. The coach told him they couldn't take him on the team. They were going to have him. You know, but yet he almost from that far away.
He didn't miss.
No, Trump turned his head.
He hit his target,
which shows you
Trump turned his head at the last second.
You have to wonder if he had some other, other help later on, because he was cuckoo enough to be able to be their type to draw into a, you could see it. I mean, the kid was a mess.
Crazy. Yeah. I don't think we've chatted since the flurry of Supreme Court rulings. Have we connected since then? No, we haven't, right?
Yeah.
We thought they put an end to lawfare, but now we're seeing the newest form of lawfare emerge, and that is the class action suit. The Supreme Court basically told judges, lower level judges,
Right.
you're not making policy for the whole country.
Right.
They left open a little bit of a loophole for class action suits.
Right.
So now we're seeing class action
Right.
suits being filed. My hunch is within the next month, the Supreme Court will have to rule again,
Right.
probably rule
Right.
the same way, because of the majority opinion,
Right.
When it wasn't slapping down Ketanji Brown Jackson as an idiot.
Right.
By the way, that was stunning that Amy Coney Barrett was allowed to write that, and
Right.
the other 5 signed off on it,
Right.
calling one of their colleagues an
Well,
idiot.
it's, I mean, you're not supposed to be political. And when you turn around, you're being political over whether, a man or a woman is a man or a woman. That you can't be a Supreme Court justice. You're not okay upstairs. You're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be able to be political at all. You have to, work with the law. That's it. She's very political.
Can we expect the Supreme Court to, on similar 6-3 grounds, say, no, when we said lower level judges, if you want to go to a district court, a circuit court, or whatever, okay, but you're not shopping one of 200 or whatever number of judges are across the country, lower level, to stop national policy, especially when we've ruled you can't do that. We're kind of getting to the point now where for sure, and next time the Democrats are in the White House, they're going to ignore Supreme Court rulings.
Right.
They kind of did when they were rulings about student loan forgiveness and whatnot. They kept trying to. They kept trying to find a way around it. But are we at the point now where Donald Trump's just going to simply stop listening to them?
No, I think he'll still go through the process because he knows they're going to vote the right way. But they need to have, where's the disciplinary, they have judicial disciplinary boards. They should be picking these judges out saying, you're not doing the right thing. You're not being a judge. You need to not, you're going to be removed. You can't do stuff like that. We removed Judge Bonin years ago in the legislature. Matter of fact, McGee told him, get out of my chamber after they removed him. Get out of this chamber and don't embarrass us anymore by coming back here again. Because he did the similar type thing, if I remember correctly. But the legislature could, the Congress could, but there's all these judicial oversight things, and you don't hear boo from them. Nothing, Same thing for that matter. Well, you have the Mass Bar Association for attorneys, and they do a pretty good job. But you need,
what's everyone's concerned about the dictator in the White House, the no kings thing. Seems to me you got low-level district court judges who, at least Donald Trump, love him or hate him, yet you do acknowledge he was elected by the people. Right. And that's how our system's supposed to work. Right. Unelected judges are not supposed to be able to make policy. They can rule on the constitutionality of things, but when you consistently get struck down, and I remember a few years ago seeing a stat that the Ninth Circuit Court, the one in Seattle and California, the most left of all the courts, they had during one stretch, 75% of their rulings were overturned by the Supreme Court. Right,
they were,
Clearly, these people aren't ruling based on the law. They shouldn't be.
I always say they need to reform. They talk about reform and things. There's a lot of things you can reform. I mean, like I always like to tell the story, like after President Lincoln was shot, we went from 4 cabinet secretaries to 12. Isn't it funny? Just all of a sudden the federal government grew, right? But you judges, there should be schools where you go to become a judge. You can't go to law school. You can't be a lawyer. You don't mix with attorneys. People go to law school. You don't come from a lawyer. You go to school to become a judge. There should be judicial schools. Should be high standards to get in there. Should be certain training, and you don't associate with attorneys. You don't have no relationship with attorney. You don't have a law degree. You don't even need to be a lawyer to be a judge in the United States. The Constitution doesn't require that. Right. And we did better. We were better off with more people like that years ago that were not lawyers, that were judges. Common sense. Use common sense, and then you work with your clerks who are attorneys if you have an issue with questioning a certain aspect of the law, or you can go into the acts and resolve and see what the intent of the legislature was. Just like the legislate, like I said, with stop signs, even in Massachusetts, as funny as this is, stop signs were created, right? It wasn't just a stop, it was for giving police an opportunity if somebody rolled through one to basically check out there, see if they were there. It was almost allowing you like a little spy thing. But you could use it to write somebody up. The reason a police officer has power to forgive that is because it's not that you have to write the ticket. And Americans break the law all the time, so they always get the right, That's how the law, the intent of the legislature is right in the acts and resolve. It tells you what the argument was on the floor. You can see what the state rep and senator said.
All right. I would be nervous about giving all that much power back to the clerks. I'm going to guess that back in the day, the clerks who were advising the non-attorney Supreme Court judges on the law were perhaps a little bit, they weren't the same as this generation where they're all freaking partisans on either side. And I mean, if your judges don't have at least some level of legal background, now we can question what they're teaching in the law.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Nowadays, that's why you go to a school for judicial training, which is like a legal, but you don't need to pass a bar. It'd just be for judges. It'd just be to rule jurisprudence and stuff like that. How a courtroom operates, how to interpret a law, how to use the action resolves, how to look what the intention of the legislature was. What was the meaning, not just the law, but what did the legislators mean or the congressmen mean when they were passing it? What was their intent? That's how you work on it. That's how you're supposed to be doing judgeships and making decisions based on that.
All right. Chatting with Greg Pappas, former Lowell elections director, but so much more. And as if you've been listening these first 40 minutes or so, you get a little bit of a better understanding of the breadth. So I want to go finish up our chat today, excuse me, with a little segment I'm calling What's Old is New Again.
Right.
There was a story, it popped up in the Herald recently, over the late last week or whenever, talked about how Louisiana is revolutionizing clean energy and green energy. Mm-hmm. Do you know what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, with the commercials,
They have classified natural gas as clean energy. Right. And of course, the environmentalists and the lefties are losing their freaking minds there. But what they're allowing is, so now you're meeting all these benchmarks for, emissions, carbon emissions, all that stuff. Right. But you're admitting that natural gas is clean energy. Mm-hmm. It's as a political ploy, it's kind of brilliant. From reality, though, it brought me back to 2010 and actually 2009, the origins of the American Recovery Act.
Yep.
First term, Barack Obama, United States president. Right. The economy had shit the bed. Yep. The banking industry collapsed. Yep. People lost fortunes. They had to bail out banks. They had to bail out everybody.
No bank too big to fail. Remember?
Too big to fail. Right. Yeah, and I'm not going to revisit that, but Democratic president Barack Obama, with a huge majority in Congress. You remember that collapse in 2008 destroyed not just the Bush legacy, George W. Bush, but also Congress. I think Nancy Pelosi had like a close to 70-seat majority in the House. Yep. Democrats had 55 or 56 Senate seats, if I remember correctly, maybe more. Mm-hmm. They decided we need to get this economy going again. Right. So they started putting out the Recovery Act, which started distributing money to the states and other entities to just put people to work. Right. And here in Lowell, Massachusetts, we benefited from tens of millions of dollars that Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas at the time helped to bring in.
Yeah, she did.
To modernize old historic buildings, aka Lowell's whole historic brick buildings, which were built a long time ago. And
she actually worked on real problems. Congresswoman Tsongas, thank you. She actually worked on real problems.
So she brought tens of millions of dollars. She did good. It's a long story that I won't get into, but somehow the Athenian Corner, my family's business, became the first. The first building to the Putnam building, it's on the historic register where we're located, to modernize our HVAC, our heating and our air conditioning, to make it more energy efficient and to meet green energy goals.
Yep. And you
know how we did it? Natural gas. Right. New modern natural gas technology from 2010 and 2011 was not only put into the Putnam building on the corner of Market and Shattuck, but eventually in mill buildings and old buildings throughout the city of Lowell. I believe the number was like $80 million was spent to make buildings more green.
Right.
With natural gas.
More natural gas. And remember the commercial? The cleanest form of energy was natural gas. It still is.
So, yet here we sit in 2025, and it happened long before 2025, but natural gas became the devil. In just a handful of short years, natural gas went from being worthy of massive. If they spent $80 million in Lowell, they spent billions across the country. In making green energy projects throughout the country with natural gas. And okay, YouTube censors, here's your cue again.
Yeah.
And it struck me as I heard that Louisiana story, what's old is new again, but also the science didn't change around climate change and green energy. The science did not change. No. The politics changed.
Yeah, well, that's called neuro-linguistic programming. You know what that is?
No.
They use that. It's you can read. There's plenty of books been around for years. They were using it when I was working for Chester and Congress. NLP. They start taking. It has nothing to do with logic, nothing to do with anything else. They just program people into a point of using language to get them on their side. And they start doing it by certain things, like they'll fill a room full of people and they'll let them talk for a while. And they'll say, like you might say, I see what you're saying, or I hear what you're talking about. So if you say, I see what I'm saying, then you're optical, so we put you with the optical people. I hear what you're saying, we put you with the auditory people. All this stuff's been going on for years. And that's how they program people until then they play these commercials for them, see which ones, and find out which ones are the most popular. Work out the best. It doesn't change the argument, and it just is better. It sounds better because I see what they're saying now, you know, or I hear what they're doing, or I can feel you. Remember Bill Clinton? I can feel your pain.
Oh yeah.
He was a kinetic person.
Feel your pain.
He would be categorized as a kinetic person. There's like 3 types of people. I'm not kidding you. This is what was done. They started with the spin doctor stuff, which, like I told you, when Susan Estridge came out. If I was a reporter, we said, go back in there and get Dukakis out here. Now, always on the front page, playing with little kids tomorrow morning. I want to talk to him, not you. Leave. But the reporters were stupid. They didn't do that. They bought into it all, too. And as they're talking to them, they're hearing, they're saying, well, yeah, I can hear you. So they start using the I can hear you thing with them. I hear what you're saying. They start reading all this other stuff. It's a whole program. But that's what they did. They took, because none of the stuff is based on truth. That whole thing, there's nothing to change clean energy. I mean, there's nothing more dirty than electricity because they use coal to make it. They don't use rivers. They use coal. But
most of the electricity is made through coal, natural gas. But 2%, I believe, is solar. Maybe 3% now in Massachusetts.
3% in the whole United States is solar and wind, and it's not working out well. The chemicals in the solar panels, you know, they're the same ones that were around when I got out of high school in 1975.
So thank you for saying that. Yeah. The push in 2010 was when you go to natural gas, less reliant on electricity. Now suddenly everything is electricity versus natural gas. How were the scientists so stupid in 2010 and 2011? Were they really that stupid?
Well, they shut off the smart ones and brought in the political ones. Or people who weren't scientists would just put on a white coat like they did when we were kids and start talking. Oh, but you know the scientists. Oh, I didn't tell you that. You know.
Is it the science that changed?
No.
Or the politics that changed? And yes, you will now see a little label on this YouTube video that says, tells you all about the science has been decided and fossil fuels and man-made, use of fossil fuels is causing climate change. I'm not questioning any of that. I'm just wondering, YouTube, maybe you can provide an explanation for this. How did from 2010 to 2015, when the green movement completely went off the rails and Greta Thunberg became an icon, how did we go from natural gas as the clean energy to natural gas as also the devil in hell? Let's burn electricity, which uses coal.
Because coal's cleaner now. No, it's not. Oh boy, it's unbelievable. It's just they're playing mind games with people, and people are programmed into it. And it's going to continue until they wake up. But people are waking up, thank God.
Think, people, think. Yeah. Hopefully in Massachusetts, natural gas will come back. Well, all right, some feedback. Mark Pease, because this feedback's related to you. Mark from South Carolina, watching your previous appearance on the Daily Pulse, says, Greg is great, as always. Really like the comment about the rainbow. Remember your comment about the rainbow?
Well, that was in Noah's Ark.
Folks here in South Carolina see it like the Bible says. Greg probably lost a few friends. Oh, well, keep up the great work.
I mean, it's just, that's all I'm saying. You hijack stuff, and that's what they use. People use stuff to hijack stuff, and then they use it for something else. That's what Satanists do.
All right. Chin Long Deep writes, going back to the school lunch meal discussion, we were talking about how they basically, everyone was getting school lunch, even the rich kids, and now they're crying that they're starving people because rich kids aren't going to get free school lunch, that they can then throw in the trash barrel because hardly, if you talk to any cafeteria worker in any school, they'll tell you their barrels are overloaded with the free food. Going back to school lunch meal discussion, I remember a moment, sometime probably my sophomore or junior year at Lowell High, that there was a lot of extra food produced in the main cafeteria as it serves grades 10 through 12. The freshman academy had its own cafeteria serving grade 9 students only. By tradition, seniors' last day of school is usually about 1 or 2 weeks prior to graduation or prom, if I remember correctly, he writes. After this moment occurred, there was no more extra food or food waste, if you want to call it that, the following year. I'm not sure how this was missed, but it's important to ensure that each school site meal budget is budgeted appropriately to avoid food waste. If there is leftover food, perhaps it can be given away to students or donated to a food bank rather than throwing it into the trash cans. Right. Now, see, there's a novel thing. Like, the food banks are losing meals money.
Right.
We're giving all this money to schools. How about the schools, rather than throw stuff away, give it to the food banks, and suddenly
the food banks can go down and
those financial hits
at the end of the day, and exactly. Or Bobby Kennedy, God rest his soul, the city council former mayor, after every party he had as a city councilor and governor's councilor, whatever food was left over, we took to the House of Hope. That's what you did. Real quick, nuclear power.
Yes.
Because of AI, it's coming back.
It will be the main source of power.
Yeah, I mean, they're opening up 3 Mile Island and stuff again. But have you seen this company that's producing mobile nuclear power plants that are the size of box trucks?
No, mobile nuclear power plants?
Yeah, they're actually...
Sounds like a scene out of the final Batman.
You would think so, but
I
was talking to my cousin about the other day because he just got an option to invest in them out of Wall Street stuff he does. And they're the size of a refrigerator truck. And this company's going to be producing these things. They're miniaturizing nuclear power plants. They're going to be all over the place eventually.
So that'll be instead of the diesel generators at Markley, they'll have a mini nuclear power plant. Mini nuclear power plants.
Yeah, I forget the company's name.
I wonder how the neighbors will feel about that.
Well,
you got to send me a link on this.
Yeah, I will.
I need to know this.
I will. I will send it to you. But it's. They've already produced some and tested them. Yeah.
Am I wrong to be a little bit nervous about this little mobile nuclear reactors in neighborhoods?
I don't.
It's a nice soft target, isn't it?
All I'm saying is that that's where we're going. We're not going the other way. Because
we're definitely going more towards nuclear.
Right.
Because I don't even think you can burn enough fossil fuels to meet the energy demands of AI.
No, it's going to be, people have no idea. It's going to be like, that plant in Lowell's probably going to use 1/3 of what the city eventually uses at some point.
Yeah, you sent me a link this morning that said Japanese have found an internet speed that's how much faster?
14 million times faster.
14 million times faster than what we have today. How much energy do you think that's using?
Well, the lights in Tokyo went out when I turned it on.
But this is where we're going.
Right.
Faster speeds, faster internet, more AI, more memory equals more energy demand.
And it's going to happen.
The death of the environmental
26, 27, 28. Yeah, it's over. They have no choice.
Because they're not going to. Well, I'm curious how the politicians are going to weasel out of the people who have fed Greta Thunberg and all these other activists, the mass 350 people and everyone else. How are they going to explain to them that we can no longer support you because AI is more important?
It's happening so fast that it's faster than you just can't stop it. Before they go to regulate something, it's going to happen again, and something else is happening again. And just this past week alone, things that have happened. It's crazy. So absolutely insane, yeah.
All right, Greg Pappas. A little look at the world and the country around Lowell, Massachusetts. But as we concluded with a little talk about the Markley Group and their diesel, maybe small nuclear reactors.
Yeah, I'll get
Lowell is losing
I'll get you that. I'll get you the name of that company. I mean, he showed me all the videos on it and everything. I'm going, wow, this is crazy.
Insane. All right,
and there's 2 other companies doing it too.
No kidding.
Yeah, so there's 3 now that are producing these things. So we'll see.
And listen, UMass Lowell does have a working nuclear reactor for research.
You don't think that's not gonna? You don't think that's gonna be pulled into the loop somewhere?
I asked somebody. I said, "Is this why the Link project and some of these companies are coming in here, and why the front runner city people are so interested in it?" I'm willing to bet that's I'm not sure if MIT and Harvard have a nuclear reactor on their campuses.
MIT, I think, has something.
Do they? Okay. But my brother-in-law was a nuclear engineer at UMass Lowell. That was his first field. He worked for Stone and Webster, one of the main
and Clay, what's his name from Drake? He was, But that stuff's all going to happen, and it's you're not going to be able to stop it, but we're going to say.
Love it. Yeah. Greg Pappas, as always, thanks for coming on in, buddy.
Thanks, Teddy.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Fun. Okay.
All right. Thank you to Greg for joining us here on the Monday, July 14th edition of the Daily Pulse. Always fun to catch up with Greg. A big week this week on the Daily Pulse and on Inside Lowell in general. Tomorrow, Jerry Nutter, former 980 WCAP radio personality, former Lowell School Committee member. He's going to be joining us for the Daily Pulse. Jerry is never shy about sharing his opinions. Wednesday, Mayor Dan Rourke will join us, along with former Mayor Bill Samaras. More talk about Frontrunner City and where we're going from here. Read that story again on InsideLowell.com, gang. Last week was a whirlwind. The pace is only going to pick up from here. By September and October, you're going to have Lowell delegations in Geneva and traveling to Europe ready to roll on this stuff. There are documents that are being created right now that will get the ball really steamrolling on this. So we'll have Mayor Rourke. We'll also have an afternoon podcast with City Manager Tom Golden. We'll share that on InsideLowell.com as well. On Thursday, this is the one I'm actually really looking forward to. Former Patriots general manager Pat Sullivan, the son of former Patriots owner Billy Sullivan, who has Lowell connections, Lowell roots, especially when it comes to Bucky Lou, the first professional black basketball player in the United States. We've run a series of articles on Bucky Lou on InsideLowell.com. We're going to talk with the author of those articles and the author of the book on Bucky Lou, Chris Boucher. He's coming in here with Pat Sullivan, so still somebody sent me the video of Matt Millen and him fighting after the Patriots-Raiders playoff game. We got to talk a little bit about that as well as their Lowell connection. On Friday, Leslie Boder will be here to help us wrap up the week with a Big Fun Friday. Every single day, it drops at noon on InsideLowell.com. As we like to say here at Inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place. Until next time, stay safe, stay cool, and I will catch you on the other side.